Is a compromise emerging then between Brussels and London this week? We understand they're working on some new text. Does that mean they can agree on some new text?
Right, good morning, Anna. And we heard from Jean-Claude Juncker, who really said we're now in God's hands. But in reality, on the ground, the situation is much more fluid. We're expecting the Prime Minister, the entire Brexit team, Jeremy Hunt, Steve Barclay, they're all really touring Europe trying to sell this deal. And at the same time, we're also expecting to hear from the Attorney General. Clearly, this is key. If he could just say, well, the backstop is not going to trap us in the EU. It's actually not that bad. Well, the Prime Minister hopes that could maybe persuade some MPs to switch sides. And that is really what this new text should be about, just clarifying the language on the backstop. From an EU perspective, that is not to say that they think next week will just solve all the problems. In the eyes of the European leaders, they still very much think this will go to the wire and really nothing substantial will take place until March. And again, Jean-Claude Juncker floated the idea that ultimately the UK will have to ask for an extension of Article 50.
Yeah, interesting to see what Geoffrey Cox, the Attorney General, has to say, although we're saying that, of course, he was OK with the last version of the backstop, which didn't please the European Research Group. What about the split that we're seeing at the other side of UK politics then in the Labour Party? What is the Brussels view of these 7 MPs quitting the Labour Party to set up something new? Does this change the dynamics of Brexit from a Brussels perspective?
Right, Anna. Well, yesterday, everyone here was keeping a very close eye on that. And in many ways, it does bring to surface what a lot of people, a lot of officials have said privately in the European Union, in Brussels, that it's been very difficult to really figure out what Jeremy Corbyn really thinks about Brexit, what he really thinks about the European Union. Also, criticism in the past that he could have done a lot more to kind of dissuade the referendum, to campaign more openly in favour of the European Union. And that hasn't really happened. In the eyes of the EU, in an ideal world, Prime Minister May could get a cross-party deal to get the sustained majority in the House of Commons, but it looks like that will also be very difficult. The big question in the eyes of Brussels is, will this change the maths in the UK Parliament? And they really don't think that for the time being that will be the case.